But why did I hit that button? Where is it? There you go. So we are given a bunch of data points. We want to go ahead and come up with an equation to model their equation. We've done this before in the past. We did this way back at the beginning of the year with linear equations. That would give you, when we were doing linear, we would type in the Desmos y sub 1, or the squiggly line, ax sub 1 plus b. And then we've done it with quadratic equations, so a little later. We had this formula we would type in, y sub 1, squiggly line, ax sub 1 squared plus bx sub 1 plus c. So today, we're going to do it again with exponential equations. So I have the steps over here, and cool, my red box didn't come out. I have this key highlighted. Oh, you can't even. Where am I signing? Oh, but my projector sucks, so it doesn't, whatever. It's the key next to 0, I put a square around. So what we would do is we'd go to Desmos and then go to the calculator. We'd press the plus button to type in our table of values. Type it in, and then when we get to Desmos, we type this, and it will give us values for A and B to create our equation. So we do this whenever we have a multiplying pattern with our data. So on this first table, it gives me a bunch of numbers, and I want to figure out what the pattern is, so how I'm going from each of these numbers. How do I go from half to 1? Do I add, subtract, multiply, or divide? I add what? I'm just looking at the bottom numbers. I'm not looking at the top. 0.5. So do I add 0.5 to 1 to get 2? No. Yeah, I'd add a 1. So this isn't adding. Okay, so I can multiply a half by 2 to turn it into 1. Do I multiply by 2 to turn it into 2? Do I multiply by 2 to turn it into 4? 8? 16? Okay. So I have a multiplying pattern. So because it's a multiplying pattern, it's going to be exponential. So I want to write that word. Then what I want to do is I want to go to Desmos and get this table of values in there. So this plus button I have right at the top. If you're in the classroom, it's right where my email address is. I click that plus button and I press table. And then I'm going to type in all of my x values and all of my y values. So once I've typed all of those in, I want to go to line 2, and I'm going to type the equation I highlighted in my notes in pink. So I'm going to have y underscore 1, arrow over, squiggly line, which is the key next to 1. Then I have a, parentheses b, to the exponent, x, and then the underscore 1. So if I scroll, it gives me values for a and b. It tells me a is 2 and b is 2. So I'm going to go plug those into the equation. And my equation for this is going to be y equals 2, parentheses, 2 to the x. Questions on number 1? Okay, what about number 2? So if I'm only looking at my bottom numbers, what kind of patterns are going? So do I multiply, what do I multiply 2 by to turn it into 0? Okay, any other ideas? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go see if there's an adding pattern. So to go from 2 to 0, I subtract 2. To go from 0 to 2, I add 2. 2 to 8. What do I have to add? 6. 8 to 18. 18 to 34. It's 14. It's okay. 32 to 50. 18. So I don't have a pattern in the first row. That just means it's not linear. If I do it again, so I look at my numbers I just wrote and I find my differences between those, if I get it in the second row, it'll be quadratic. So, let's see. So if I did it in the first row, it would have been linear. And if I'll do it in 2 rows, it'll be quadratic. And then if it's none of these 3, it's neither. None of them. So, how do I go from negative 2 to 2? Add 4. How do I go from 2 to 6? 6 to 10. How do I go from 6 to 10? Add 4. 10 to 14. And 14 to 18. Okay, so notice how this took me 2 tries. And then all the numbers were the same. This one is going to be quadratic. So then I want to go ahead and type this into Desmos, but when I go to do my equation, I'm going to do the one I highlighted in blue. Let's get rid of you. Let's just start a whole new table. Then once I type this in, I want to go to line 2. So I'm going to have y underscore 1, the squiggly line, ax underscore 1 squared plus bx underscore 1 plus c. And then I plug in for, whoa, those should be zeros for b and c. I don't know why they're not. Did I type one of my numbers wrong? Oh, that's weird. Okay, so if it ever does something weird like this where it has like a number times 10 to a really large negative number, it really means 0. Sometimes the calculators approximate things and they get things wrong. So anyways, I have, did you get zeros? Did you type in the same equation as me? Did you get your data points wrong? I'll take a look at this. Oh, I know why it's not. This table is an X1 island. Mine is. Yours isn't, though. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So, this one is just 0.5x squared. And I don't have to write the b and c values because they weren't there. Questions on this one? It has to match to whatever your table says. So if you scroll back at the top of your table. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the table names change on Desmos, so it's not always y1 or x1. Okay. Now number 3 tells me I want to write an exponential function whose graph passes through these points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a table of values. I'm going to have my x and y. And write them in like a table. And then I'm going to go type it into Desmos. So I have these 2 points. Mine are still called x1, y1, so I'm good to keep using them. I am using the exponential function because it told me I was writing an exponential one. So then, oops, that's not what I want to scroll down on. This is what I want to scroll down on. So my equation is going to be y equals 2, and then parentheses 3 to the x. Questions here? Okay, so on number 4, I want to go ahead and do the same thing. I want to go ahead and go to Desmos and type in my, no, just kidding. I need to know what the pattern is if it's multiplying or adding to type in. This one is actually a dividing pattern by 3. So I forgot to say this earlier. If it's multiplying or dividing, it is exponential. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I can go ahead and type this into Desmos now that I know which kind I'm looking for. So once I type in my points, my table was y1, x1, y1, so I can go ahead and type this in. And for my equation, it gives me, does this not turn back into a fraction? That's annoying. 3 repeating is 1/3. So I'm going to have 27 on the outside and 1/3 on the inside. My b value, notice for this one, it was 1/3. On the front side, my b value happened to be the number I kept repeating by. So the one in parentheses is the one I'm always repeating by. So when I am dividing over and over again, this is the same thing as a fraction of 1/3. I forgot to say this is exponential. Okay. If I take a look at number 5, I subtract 8, I add 8, I add 24, I add 40, and I don't know that one. Huh? 56? So then I want to try adding again. This one I'm adding 16, 16. Yeah. Because just like this one where I can add and subtract as long as it ends up being the same. So this one, it took me 2 tries. What is it? It took me 2 tries. Okay. So I can go to Desmos and type this in. So my table had the x1, y1, so I can okay, so it's doing that weird thing for b, so that means that's really 0. So I only have to plug in for a and c. So this is going to be y equal, I didn't even remember those numbers, 2 and 5. Okay, so I'm going to have 2x squared and then plus 5. I don't have a middle term because Desmos is doing that weird thing to show us that it means 0. Questions on number 5? Okay. Number 6, I want to make my own table of values. And then I'm going to go type this in the Desmos. then I know this is exponential because the problem tells me. So this is going to give me 5 and 2. Questions here?